Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to discuss the topic of fragmentation. Fragmentation is a very widespread phenomenon, and it occurs when we deny or suppress aspects of ourselves that are very innate qualities of ourselves. This often happens in childhood as a means of survival because society and our parents required us to behave a certain way in order to function in the rigid and structured manner that society operates. Therefore, in order to fit ourselves into this box that society required of us, we had to shove down or suppress these natural aspects of ourselves. And I need to talk about why this is problematic. Because when we do this, we're essentially shutting ourselves off. We are turning off our soul. And this ultimately leads to an unfulfillment, a deep unfulfillment that we often feel, but we can't quite name or pinpoint. And so how this manifests is we enter adulthood, and on the surface, we may have everything that society said we were supposed to have, that our parents said we were supposed to have. And we may be deemed successful by those people. But inside, we feel like something's missing, something's not there. Something, despite all of the external success we've accumulated, whether this be merits, high-paying career, house, relationship, the list goes on and on and on. Despite all of these external measures of validation, inside there's still an deep dwelling unfulfillment. And fragmentation is the reason for this. Now, this is the root cause of so much suffering, because we may be going about our life in a way that isn't authentic to ourselves. And when we do that, even if it's considered normal, and especially if it's considered normal and acceptable to behave in this way in order to survive, this is what is the result of fragmentation. This is why we are fragmented. Sorry, it's not why we're fragmented, but it is the result of fragmentation. And it's very tricky, because if the vast majority of people are living this way, and if it's considered normal, then we often trick ourselves into thinking it's the right way to be. And that I have to do this. I have to in order to survive. This is what people tell themselves, because they are stuck in this illusion of scarcity. They're stuck in this illusion of limitation, and they wholeheartedly believe every lie they've been told. That life works a certain way, that you must have a high-paying job in order to be successful, that you must achieve so-and-so in order to be successful. It all has the same sort of ring to it, or the same sort of, it's all the same sort of idea, that we must complete so-and-so in order to so-and-so. It's like fill in the blanks. It's like we must do this in order to achieve this. And you can fill in those two blanks with anything you want, because all of it's interchangeable. It's all the same. But at the root of it, at the heart of it, is fragmentation. And fragmentation is when parts of ourselves are suppressed. And this is problematic because if we've lived our entire lives doing this to ourselves, then we're not even aware that it's happening. That who we are presenting to the world is simply a mask. It's not who we really are. And this mask puts us in all sorts of tough situations. Because on the one hand, everyone is approving us for this mask, but on the other hand, it's making us deeply unhappy, and it's causing us to act out in all sorts of, dysfunctional ways, and it's bleeding out into things that we're doing that are highly toxic and highly destructive. It leads to destructive patterns, destructive behavior. But the reason people never address fragmentation, even if they know that it's happening, is because of fear. It's the fear of what happens when I heal this part of myself. It's going to be so hard. It's going to be too difficult. Everyone's going to laugh at me. I'm going to be ostracized from my community, from my parents, from society. I'm going to become homeless. I'm going to lose everything. People will concoct all of these stories in their mind about what's going to occur if they address this. And that's why it never gets addressed, because everything in society, everyone in society, is against you figuring this out. Everything in society is designed to reward you for keeping up the facade of fragmentation. So to address this is to unwire and deconstruct the entire fabric of your identity, in the entire fabric of the matrix in which you exist. And this is no small task. So I can deeply empathize with anyone who thinks, no, it's just too much. It's much easier to just abide and to accept the way things have been, even if they're problematic, because the alternative seems so overwhelming that I can't even contemplate it. But here's what you need to know, is that there's no choice. It might seem like you have a choice in the matter, but you don't. Because these two sides represent life and death. To choose not to address this is to choose death. It is to choose killing yourself. Not literally, but figuratively, your soul dies. And so there is no choice. You have to address this. But here's the thing. Usually the inverse is observed. Usually we look at this contemplation and we're like, actually, addressing fragmentation is death. Because we think that the mask that we're wearing is who we really are. And that's why it's so tricky. Because we actually think by addressing this, we're actually killing ourselves. But what we're really killing is our ego. We're deconstructing the ego, our egoic identity. And that's the fundamental distinction that we need to make when we're addressing fragmentation. So that is the big roadblock that 99% of people have when they're addressing fragmentation. And I can understand, therefore, why many people never proceed. And in fact, why anyone who does attempt to go down that path is immediately made fun of, ostracized, excommunicated, etc. But what's on the other side of that? If we do pursue the path of healing ourselves, which is the only choice, we must do this because the alternative is the death of our soul. We must do this. What's on the other side of that? Well, I can tell you. It's wholeness, and it is freedom. The ultimate freedom. To do whatever you wish. To not be burdened by false beliefs, false systems and structures that never really had any control over you, but which you gave authority to because of how you were raised. Because the people before you did that, and the people before them did it, and the people before them did it. But you can be the cycle breaker. You can make the different choice. And when we arrive at wholeness, we're really just returning to who we really are. It's not really as complicated as it sounds, after all. It seems very daunting on the surface, but it's really not that complicated. Because at its core, all we're doing is living as authentically as we can in every moment. That's all it is. That's what wholeness is. But we can look at it from our egoic perspective and think it's this winding journey that will be full of trials and tribulations. And it can be that if we make it into that. But reduced to its essence, it's very simple and clear. And so, with this video, I hoped that I could illustrate why fragmentation is slowly killing you, and why there is no choice between being fragmented and being whole. Because fragmentation leads to the death of the soul. So out of the gate, that's not a choice. Anything that results in death is not a choice. So, we must pursue wholeness because what is revealed is that ultimately there was never anything to be pursued. It was all within us all along. And all we had to do was let go of the programming and the beliefs and the egoic identity that we clung onto in order to survive. So please give this video a like, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. I'll be making more content. Bye.